Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, the City Podcast, aka Stay in True to Yourself. We are here today to foster the necessary discussion of how to value the self in the community. So, without further ado, I'm going to let our new guest today introduce themselves. You have the floor.
Hey everyone, I'm Kathleen. I'm from Carson, California, and I'm 26, but right now I'm living in beautiful Sacramento, California.
Awesome. So, Kathleen, you are from Carson, you are 26, living in California. Can you kind of expand more on yourself in terms of like the things you like to do, your experiences? What have been the things that you can say mold who Kathleen is?
Mold who I am. That's a good question. I think it's always funny when people ask grad students, like, what do you like to do for fun? It's definitely right now it's sleep. I'm not going to lie. But I like anything with water, laying by the beach, going to the beach. I like to feel that's what relaxes me. What I feel like shapes me is definitely my family. That's the first thing that came to my mind as you said that. My parents are both from Trinidad. So it was always really interesting, I will say, growing up. You come home and it's like this whole different world and you leave, and you have to figure out how to navigate, like your American friends and like doing things like that. So it's always been a serious code switch for me. I think that's definitely what shaped me. And I may have mentioned this before to you. My mom's also a social worker. So I grew up with someone, well, I was raised by a social worker and an engineer. We're like complete opposites. So one's really, really logical and one has all this emotional intelligence. And I always feel like I'm this really nice in between of the two of them. So I would feel like their personalities have definitely shaped me and just how they chose to allow me to be free and just discover what I like to do while also allowing me to kind of spread my wings and be creative and be different in my own way. So it's definitely probably mom and dad and family on that one for me.
Okay. I can really resonate with the part you said about the understanding cultures and having to kind of code switch from, your home culture and then the outside culture.
Yeah.
Can you kind of expand more in terms of your experience doing that?
Well, when I was younger, I hated it. And I think now, as I have a better understanding of the world, I love it. I remember like being on the bus and, trying to fit in with your black friends, kicking it, whatever. And they're like, well, you're not black, you're Trinidadian. And so like,
wow.
Yeah. So always kind of feeling that I was different in that way. And like now, I'm still different, I guess, but it bothers me much. It doesn't bother me at all at this point. I like the fact that I can connect with a lot of people with different experiences. And now, even working in student affairs, right at my full time, I feel like you'll hear about every job on this podcast. But now working in student affairs, that's definitely been really, really helpful. Being able to resonate with students who have a similar experience and connect with their parents when I need to as well.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing. But when you say like your friends kind of had to, they kind of challenge you and saying like, "Are you black or not?" Like, what? We're all, we're all from the same place. We all look the same. It's just that maybe sometimes dialect is like kind of what the differentiating factor.
Exactly.
You touched upon your experience in terms of your professional experience. Can you kind of expand on how your professional experience has been influenced by your uprising and kind of currently the things you're being interested in?
Yeah, it's a lot. So I'm a real Caribbean and I have 3 different jobs that I love. One is student affairs, and I kind of touched on that, right? Like using personal experiences to connect with folks, especially, I had difficulties in college, academic challenges, and being able to just show the students that there's opportunities even if you mess up, right?
Mm-hmm.
That has really helped me. And then I think in social work, it's always, I feel like I'm always cheating a little. My mom's definitely a social worker. So some of the things that we're learning in class, I'm like, I learned that as a little girl. So again, I think it's them taking their time on me and being willing to teach me things. Like I never had the parents who were like, you're too young to understand that or something like that. But I also am a consultant for a research team that focuses on mental health and connections that basically we make with our therapists. So the social work job and that kind of intertwine in that way. But I actually landed that job. It was a trauma job. I was really interested in trauma and being a research assistant in a lab that did that. And that I didn't understand why I was so connected to like pain and trauma and why are these things interesting to me. And as I got older, I realized like the people who raised me experienced a significant amount of trauma. The people I grew up around experienced a significant amount of trauma. So I guess we all experience trauma in some ways, but I was really able to see how people shift after a traumatic event. I was able to see how folks' trauma kind of hangs on them, right? As we navigate the world, our
Mm-hmm.
experiences shape what we do and who we talk to and what we say. So putting all those pieces together was really interesting to me. And the reality is like you don't know sometimes what you're interested in. And most of the time, at least I can say for me, I've stumbled upon things, right? Like I would have
Mm-hmm.
never I would have never considered social work had I not been kicked out of Davis at one point and then was like, what do I really want to do? Right. And I had these awesome community college teachers who were like, who allowed me to explore that and who took their time with me. Um, and so that's one of the things I'm comfortable with now is like I've made so many mistakes. We all have, but not allowing that to stop me and really just go get whatever I want when I want it.
Mm.
It sounds
Okay.
a little.
Nah. So, you kind of touched upon in terms of like your journey throughout college, and experiences that you had, and how that experience kind of shaped you and kind of influenced you into the things you want to do. Can you kind of touch upon the one? You also said right now you are involved in terms of mental health. So, can you
Yeah.
kind of touch upon in terms of for the folks out there listening who might be in a situation like you were in terms of how to kind of overcome that academic journey and also at the same time having to fight the barriers that come in with mental health and mental health stigmas.
Yeah. For me, the driving force has really been relational. I know we have this like idea that we need to like grind, get out the mud, make it on our own, but it's a really damaging idea to have because that's what kept me sane when I was really hurting, when I didn't know what to do, is just the people around me who peeped the difference. I mean, let's talk about that for a second. A lot of people don't even notice when you're going through something, but the people who recognize the difference and were like, cool, now what? What's next? And the people who still saw, beauty in me, the people who still saw that I was capable, even as I was going through some of the things that I have in the past, right? That was a driving factor to me, is just knowing that people still love me and believed in me when those things were happening. And find your niche of people, and be honest with the people around you and have that open communication so they can support you, right? I mean, we are really used to not sharing when we fail. Someone was talking to me about like Instagram culture. I think that's what he called it, of like
Okay.
my successes, but you don't see my failures, right? And granted, I'm not going to post, "Hey, Instagram, this this shitty thing just happened," right? But
Can you kind of explain what you mean by the Instagram culture? Because that
yeah,
has been like a topic that people have been trying to figure out. Like social media has come in to influence people. You have young kids. They aspire now to be a
yeah,
social media influencer. Sometimes it can be maybe that's what they really want to do, or sometimes they're just blind to the reality of what it is. So can you kind
hmm
of touch upon on that in terms of what you mean by that?
yeah. Well, what I mean by the Instagram culture is I'll give an example. So I'm quarantined probably for a lot of us. We got on our fitness kick and I'm like looking on Instagram like, ooh, this girl is body goals. Like, that's what I want to look like. Come to find out, y'all, I'm doing research. Everyone who I'm like body goals has gotten work done. And so that's what I'm saying is like, we don't even know what's real or not, especially on the gram. But in social media in general. And like, I'm working with a few teenage girls right now. And it's really, really interesting to see that because when I was growing up, we had MySpace, but it was like, I'm trying to think, it was like late in middle school, right? So and MySpace is not like Instagram where it's like photos. It's like you did your background, your songs. There were other things, your top 5 friends that you were concerned about. It's not looks. And I think that's how social media has really changed because I don't remember being so invested in looks and appearance like some of the girls I am working with now are. So yeah, I mean, that's what I mean by Instagram culture. And we're not sure what's real, what's fake. I see your successes. I see you making money, but I don't see that you spent 10 hours without sleeping to get there, right? You know that I am finishing this degree, for example, but I haven't shared, I haven't posted at least that, I had so much difficulty in undergrad. Right. And so that's Instagram. We get to choose what we want to share or not. I mean, the people who are posting aren't doing anything negative, but it's the perception, right, that we got to consider.
Okay. And you also touched upon the importance of like, finding the right group for you, having the open conversation and dialogue. Can you kind of touch upon in terms of your experience and how you kind of came to that realization for yourself?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that. I was just having a conversation with one of my line sisters, and I was celebrating, something, and
Right, can I just for a minute? Can you kind of for the people? Sorry about that. Can you for the people out there who are listening, can you kind of explain what a line sister is? Because there might be some people who might be ignorant to that.
Yeah, sorry. A line sister is a sorority sister that you came in to the organization with at the same time. So think about it like a cohort, but in a sorority, kind of. And she was saying, like, you should be so proud of yourself, And then I realized when these big accomplishments happen for me, I never feel like, of course, I feel like, damn, I did it, right? I feel excited. But I always am thinking about the people who were there on those really icky days when things were uncomfortable and when all I could do, I'm thinking about my grad program. And I always joke, the first year of grad school, you just cry regularly. And everyone I talked to in grad school has said the same thing. Like, you just regularly cry because it just feels overwhelming. But I'm thinking about those moments. And that's why I think it's good to have people who want to celebrate you, but it's even more of a blessing to have people who want to be like, damn, you're really ugly right now. The situation's ugly right now, or you showed your ass just now, and still want to work through things with you. Not just people who want to be there when you're cheering or you're having the fun, but people who really want to genuinely support you. I don't ever feel like I'm alone with family and the family that I've created for myself. I don't feel that way.
Okay.
And that's what's me.
Okay. So now let's kind of shift back to kind of who you as a person. So in terms of your journey so far, your experiences, all the things you kind of had to hurdle over, is there like a big accomplishment you've had so far? And if you do, can you explain why? Or do you have a big accomplishment you're trying to get to?
Yes, yeah. So I do. I just accomplished it, actually. So I told you about this grad program for the Master of Social Work, but I just got into law school too. So that is
wow! Congratulations.
That's my big accomplishment. I just got into law school. And I think it goes back again to what I was saying, like the things I've experienced in undergrad. And, you would think at a certain point your undergrad grades stop affecting you. That is not the reality. A lot of schools, their GPA is based on their students' undergrad GPA. So it followed me. And I was really thinking like, damn, like these mistakes that I made when I was 20, 21 are impacting me now at 26, and people don't think I can do it. And that's always one thing, and who knows me can say this, is I will outwork somebody, right? I may not be the smartest, but I will outwork anybody if I want something, okay? So I just needed a shot, and I
Let them
finally got
know.
it. And I finally got it. So I'm just feeling really blessed. It came like a few days after my birthday, literally last week. So I've been doing a lot of celebrating, and it's been good. I feel really, really blessed.
Okay. Um, you touched upon like the undergrad experience and how that experience does kind of like follow you throughout your life.
Yeah.
So in terms of your undergrad experience, what is like one big piece of advice you can let people know in terms of who are potentially looking to get into undergrad right now, or who are currently in undergrad?
For the people who are looking to get into undergrad, I'd say you end up where you need to be. For example, I just knew, y'all, I knew I was going to LMU in LA. I bought a sweatsuit when we did the campus tour. I just knew I was going to LMU, and I did not. But the relationships that I've made here, and being able to explore Northern California, being close to home is important to me, but being able to kind of create my own is also. And this was a really awesome happy medium as an adult and being 18, 19 when I first moved out here. For the folks who are in college, dang, what would I tell myself? What would I tell myself in college? Don't go crazy. No, I think it's growing. Even though you feel really, really old sometimes, you have no clue what's going on, and that's totally okay. No one knows what they're doing, is what I've realized this year. And just take your time, and you're gonna fall out with people. And again, just remember who needs to be in your life is going to be there. Right? If someone wants to make it work with you, they will make it work. And that's not just with relationships, it's with friendships too. Yeah, and I guess that's what I would tell myself.
Okay. Well, I hope for all you folks out there listening who are, potentially trying to get to undergrad or are in undergrad, you guys can take away that valuable wisdom that Kathleen has shared, and you kind of
And
use
have
it.
fun. Have fun.
Exactly. I emphasize that. So now let's kind of shift a little bit. Let's get a little juicy here with the conversation. All right. So, in undergrad, people have experiences. People meet different people. Can you kind of share, the experience of relationships while in undergrad?
I can barely share the experiences of relationships at 26. No, I think every person that I dated in undergrad was instrumental to me figuring out what I would and would not accept.
Can you give like an example?
Yeah, sure, Tiggs. Well, so for example, this is not necessarily in undergrad, but it's I think we like dated through undergrad to post college, whatever that awkward period of time is. And there were awesome things, right? But there are things looking back now that I would never accept, right? And I had to get to a really, really low point, right? Like, it sounds a little silly to say, but when people mistreat you, you learn how to be treated well, right? You begin to say, like, this is a non-negotiable. That's what I call it with my clients, right? Non-negotiable thing. And again, not just relationships, but friendships. These are things I will not accept any longer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of heartbreak. And I think that was, at least my experience in undergrad is like being really disappointed with the experiences that I had in regards to relationship, but I never stopped. Now I'm stopping to think like, okay, one, what do I have to work on? Two, am I even ready to do this with the person? And, there's a lot of work that you have to do to be in something healthy, right? There's a lot of you figuring out, you healing from things. There's a lot of heartbreak in undergrad, I feel like. Well, again, maybe it's just my experience. I experienced a lot of heartbreak in undergrad, and I'm not like embarrassed to say that. I think some was totally my fault, and others were totally other folks' fault. But then,
I was gonna ask you that actually. It was like, do you think
yeah,
it's you or do you think it was them? And I'm glad
no,
you're acknowledging the fact.
yeah, some things were 100% me. And like, what am I doing trying to have this long? Like, you're 21 and 22, chill.
Mm.
You know,
Speak on it.
it's like relax. Think, my mom tells me like the people who are for you will be for you. And I am like really sitting that now as an adult. And it's crazy, like to be in this point in my life. Like I didn't think I would be able to be treated as well as I am being treated now, right? By a person I'm dating. I really didn't think it was possible. But I gave myself a year of no dating. And
Wow.
that's a flexible no date. Like definitely met for drinks or whatever and things like that. But that was like a pretty solid year, and it allowed me to kind of feel comfortable being by myself, which I was not. Like in college, I was not. And again, it goes back to proximity, like I was saying earlier. You're used to being able to be like, oh, hey, what's up? Let's go. For us, it was like Applebee's, I think. Like, let's go to Applebee's real fast. There was always someone in your vicinity, and there was always someone who was free enough to hang out. Right. Fast forward, right after school, I was in a serious relationship. That person was always there with me. So that year was really my first time like chilling and just being Kathleen, which I needed. That's not shade to like other people I dated or anything like that. It's just like I needed to do me for a second to really figure out what I wanted in a person.
Okay. Do you feel like we got hit with the pandemic? Do you feel like the whole COVID experience has kind of shifted how people approach, their relationship with their significant other?
Well, if I put my social work hat on, I know that the quarantine has taken a toll on relationships, because when you really think about your day, right? Think about you're living with a partner. You probably only see that partner for, and I'm excluding sleep, because that's not seeing your partner, maybe 4 to 5 hours.
Wow, okay. I didn't even know that. I didn't even think about that. Wow, okay.
Right? You don't see them a lot. The moments that you spend with them are meaningful. But now, we made that 5 into 24. Some of us did. Right? Yeah. That's hard. I like you, but do I really like you that much? Everyone needs their space. Even if I do like you, shoot, I don't want to see you that much. So I think that's where it changed, because the expectations and those little things that you can usually look over became everyday things, right? Every moment things. So I definitely know it took a toll. In regard to dating, I haven't felt like it's inhibited me, but again, part of the pandemic was my 1 year of not doing anything with anybody. I don't feel like it's inhibited any of my girls either.
Okay.
So, but I know that's not the reality for everybody, especially if you're living with like family and you have to be really cautious about everything really in this pandemic. So there's flexibility.
You touched upon like some really vital points in terms of like, when it comes to relationships, the aspect of understanding what you can accept and what you don't accept, and, learning how to, speak up for yourself and negotiating what you think is right for you in the moment and what you think is going to build you to be a better person. You touched upon that. Those are some really big points when it comes to, just relationship building in general. It can be, romantically, personal, academically, professionally, or just in any way. It's very important to, learn about yourself and figure out, what do I accept? What is right for me? It's that kind of self-exploration journey. And you touched upon how you kind of took a year for yourself to kind of, sit back, relax, and kind of learn more about yourself. And you you said that gave you a boost and a propeller to, what you're doing now. So in terms of, you had your whole self-exploration phase. When it comes to who you are as a person, why do you feel you are different from anyone else?
Um, for me, it comes down to ambition. And some people will
Mm.
call it cocky, but I think if there's anything I want to do, I can do it. I believe in myself and my brain and God, um, enough to know that if I want something, it can be mine. And this experience really with the school and everything has shown me that. And that goes back to outworking people. It's like, you might be smarter, right? There are people in the world who are smarter than me, but if I want to outwork you, I'll outwork you. And I think that's what makes me different. But while I do those things, right, while I'm working on my goals, the relationships, going back to that, have been important to me. So, for example, in the social work program I'm in, you have to do X amount of client hours, right? And so if my girlfriend is having a tough time or whatever, and she just needs a friend, I'm like, all right, well, come over, kick it, we'll hang out, we'll go out. But I know that at 7:30 in the morning, I need to be ready to see clients, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what's important to me. And that's like the commitment I've made to myself. I don't want to just be the person who's in school and grinding, quote unquote, right? But it's
Yeah.
also relationally, who do I want to show up as? And I want the people who I love to know that I love them. And that's just something I wasn't going to waver on.
Okay. And actually, just from knowing you, I can really agree to that. Is that your ambition and drive to just be better every day. It's really shown in the things you've done. And you know what they say. Hard work does beat talent most of the time. And I wouldn't say just, well, I think all the time hard work does beat talent because
Yeah.
you just so
Thank you.
um when it comes to now coming to that realization for yourself and setting up your chessboard correctly, have you come to an understanding of like the essence of your own existence? Like, what's your purpose?
Oh, so I don't know if you've ever seen those images where it's like left brain and right brain, and the right brain is like this really colorful, creative thing, and the left brain is like black and white. Have you ever seen that image?
Yeah, I have, but I would love a
Yeah.
little bit more enlightenment and education
That
on it.
is how I mean, that's how I feel. I feel like there's that split in my personality. And this is why I think this next step is perfect for me. I love my clients. I love working for them. I love doing therapy. I feel really connected to it. And and again, this is not a boast, but this is just like, I've had supervisors who are like, "This is your calling. Like, you're good at it." Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not having to teach you the things like I would have to teach other people. And again, maybe that's credit to mom and just growing up with her, but I do feel like very connected to that work. But there's this other piece of me that's like super logical. And I almost want to say, as I've fed my social work brain and had that fun and creative side, I've been really drawn to this this logical piece of me too. So do I know what my purpose is? Like, do I have an idea of what a dream job or something like that looks like? No. I know what I want to learn, and I know how I want to feel,
Mm-hmm.
and I know what I want to create. And I don't just mean create like physically, like what the things I want to create, but I know the spaces I want to create. I know the feelings I want people to have when I enter the room. I know the feelings I want to have when I enter a room. Um, so that's what's driving me. And for me, it's like trust. Like, before I got the letter being like, "Hey, yeah, you're accepted," right? I remember driving, and I remember being so confused. Like, so many things were happening at one time. I was working on this application. I'm finishing school. I got offered some social work jobs. I'm like, damn, maybe I should just take those. And I remember driving and just being like, God, I don't know what you're doing, but do it. and really like
Mm.
relinquishing control for a second. And which is not like me. I'm definitely like, I have 10 spreadsheets for everything I do. But that was helpful, and being confident and comfortable with saying, I don't know it all. I don't really know. I don't know. Like, you know, when people ask you what do the next 5 years look like, I can give you a gist, I guess. But I'm going to be good. You know, like I have faith and I have trust in that. Um, so I think my purpose is really to help people. I think that is really what, to my core, I want to do. In what like way or facet that, you know, how I'm going to make that happen, that's still up in the air. But I know I'm supposed to be helping people, helping my community, and showing up for them. Right? Like I say,
Okay.
these. Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna emphasize on the what you said there. You know, sometimes you might find yourself doing something and you don't know like what it is, but you find yourself doing it. And the reason probably you're doing it is probably because you know that's just how it feels right to you, and you touched upon it by saying you know just do it.
Yeah.
So I just want to emphasize on that and kind of build upon that. You know, if Nike is out there listening, you know, just do it.
Sponsorship.
You feel me? So now you kind of you know touched upon you know finding your purpose and the things you kind of have done to reach that you know that point and that pinnacle for yourself. So I kind of want to you know go back to the mental health aspect. You say you have you know you are you know you're aspiring to be in the social work field, and you have clients that you meet up with. When it comes to mental health and mobilizing mental health stigmas, what do you think is kind of the next steps that we kind of need to take as a society and as individuals to ensure we do that the correct way?
That's a really big question. Um, I feel like I'm in class where we get asked this question regularly. One, I say, um, not reteaching, but teaching folks who are younger than us that it's okay to not be okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
granted, I'm never going to say someone doesn't need therapy. I think we all need therapy. Um, but you know, some people need it more than others. And I love seeing like a 6-year-old or a 8-year-old in therapy. And like a portion of it is like getting to know their feelings through play and drawing and things like that. But it's also teaching them in the future that it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to get additional support. So I think teaching our children that is necessary. Again, we rely on this grind culture, and the grind culture is not always super nice to our mental health. As adults, what do we need? Well, I mean, there's a lot of things we need. Healthcare needs to be better, and access to healthcare needs to be better when you're discussing mobilization, right? We need more people with different experiences in the field. I know for me, for example, my therapist, I knew I wanted a Black woman and I wanted to have similar experiences that I did. So getting people with an array of experiences makes it more attractive for other people to say like, oh, this person is kind of like me. Let's see what she or he or they can do. When I'm thinking about mobilization. But then I think we also need to make therapy as a career needs to be more accessible. Right now, I do not feel like it is. Are we creating different avenues for like low income folks, for example, to get their masters? And what does that process look like? We definitely need more people of color, and we definitely need more men of color.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
yeah, I guess that's what I would say.
Um, so in terms of like, you know, when it comes to the like the healthcare aspect, do you believe like, you know, the current policy that we're currently going on, you know, we just got a new administration, you know, we came out from the Trump administration, which I think repealed Obama, everything pretty much Obama did. I think Trump was like, you know, fuck it. And now we're back now to, I guess, to what, was before
Yeah.
Trump, because we have Biden in office and he was under the Obama administration. So in terms of like the new administration we currently got going on, you touched upon like healthcare policy. Like, what specific things would you say we kind of need to include into the next changing policies that we're gonna be coming up?
Um, I think my biggest thing is accessibility, right? I don't know. We used to joke about this in college, but it's like, if I need to go to the hospital, just drive me. Don't call an ambulance. Or the ambulance is too expensive. Like I remember joking like that in college, but that's real. And there are people who are
Mm-hmm.
bleeding out and calling Ubers to the hospital to take them to the hospital. Um,
Wow.
so it works, right? Well, one, it works for the people who have a hospital that's not impacted and crowded in your community, and it works when you
Mm-hmm.
have money. But what if you're undocumented? What if you're low income? What if you're over the age of 26, right? And you're not working a job that has benefits. Things are still not
Mm-hmm.
accessible. And I want to touch on the fact that yes, we may have a new administration, but we also, in this Trump area, I feel like our society has also changed, and people have become really comfortable with being nasty. That's like my train, but like being rude.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
What do you mean by that?
being rude, being racist. Not being accepting. Where I feel like in the past things were not as overt, right? I don't really want the world to know that I don't like Black people, but now it's okay. Now it's okay. It's not like Black people. This last president made it okay, and that's just one example. But so that's been interesting to see as an adult as well. That kind of switch. That was hard.
Okay. So that's that we're looking at from like the big boys, the federal, how they can help us out when it comes to like healthcare policy in terms of ensuring that we have the right resources in our communities for people who, for example, if somebody needs to get to the ER, instead of calling an ambulance on them, if they have a friend next to them who can actually take them there, and that can kind of, alleviate the costs to, their medical costs. So in terms of like California itself, where do you see it going in terms of the healthcare aspect?
Well, one, California has been one of the states who has done a lot to try to help the situation. I will name that. I remember like in school, one of our classes is to like look at your state's policies in regard to healthcare and how it supports people. I would like us to, and maybe this isn't a policy, maybe it's more so all of us looking at something differently. As I've been working with more developmentally disabled kiddos, I'd like to see us, I mean, we're a really ableist society, right? Like when we're creating things, policy, structures, anything like that, we don't keep in mind that there are people who don't operate like us in the same way. I would really like us to like incorporating people with learning disabilities or disabilities in general as we're creating certain things. I mean, like even our schooling structure can be really difficult with a kiddo with autism or any learning disability. So I would really like us to find a way to deep dive into it. And I know these are big questions and I don't have all the answers, but that's something I'd like to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's that desire to always keep finding a better solution
Right.
than the previous one. So, it's always, here on the City podcast, that's the goal, is how can we improve the self first, and then how can the self, get themselves invested into their community so they can upgrade what's going on around them.
Right.
That's the whole goal. If you can upgrade yourself, then the chances of you actually upgrading your community are extremely high. That's just simple and clear right there. If you focus on how you can build yourself, for example, if self-care is very important when it comes to mental health, finding the things that keep you sane.
Mm-hmm.
When you are able to find those things, the possibilities of your community enhancing from that is very, very high and very likely. So now, next question for you, Kathleen, is in terms of you as a person. You touched upon how you feel like you are different from anybody else because of your ambition, and you feel like your purpose, is working really hard to ensure that the people who need help get the right help that they need, and hard work does beat talent. How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Creative, ambitious, ooh, what's my third word? Creative, ambitious, and caring. I think those would be my 3 words.
Okay, so we have creative, ambitious, and caring.
Yeah.
Can you kind of expand on how you came to that realization of being creative, ambitious, and caring? If you could touch upon each one of them.
Yeah. The creative piece. Again, I have to this is definitely a student affairs thing of just having to quickly find solutions that support an array of people quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
constantly thinking on your feet, constantly trying to figure out how can we make this policy better? How do I communicate this policy? That's what the student affairs has taught me. And I've been able to be really creative in the job, even when we're thinking about like design and social media and things like that. Ambitious. I mean, I feel like we kind of touched on that. I just know this is my dad, but I know I don't want to stop, right? Like I want to continue working on this. I want to continue helping. I want to continue doing what it is I have to do. And of course, you get tired in certain moments, and that, like you said, that's when you go back to self-care and taking a pause. And I definitely wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't learn how to do that. But that for me, that's where the ambition is. I'm just looking for the next thing, and not to say that I'm not satisfied, but I'm constantly I'm constantly looking to see how I can work well in other spaces. I'll say that. And then caring, like I said, the relationships are important to me. I'm a relational person, even though I have that super logical side. So I think that ambition and that caring really go hand in hand. Yes, there are things that I want, but I want at the end of the day, right, when everything is done, to be around people I love and celebrate with people I love. And just being able to connect with people. I think that has been one of the coolest things with the social work job. Just being able to be present the way people need me to be present in that moment has been really cool. So those would be my 3 words.
Okay. You also touched upon how you're a relational person. Can you kind of touch upon in terms of your self-care? Like if you can give some self-care tips that you have out there to maintaining yourself and how you're able to use that in maintaining your relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, I'll say self-care looks different for everybody. I know people who like to read a good book to self-care. Me, I am like put on the most like background noise show, sit on my phone for hours, and just veg out, basically, I guess is what I'm saying. That's my self-care, but I would really encourage everyone to kind of explore it for themselves. And like structured self-care, right? Like I like to do yoga, but I like to sit on my phone in front of the TV a little bit more. And I'm like, what does it look like when I'm really giving myself a break? And there's little ways that we can get self-care throughout the day. Like a lot of us are working from home right now. I've peeped that I want to make like a good meal sometimes. Or for me, it's like I will make my bed up every day. It will be perfect. And that's like my 1 minute of Kathleen, get your life. There's some self-care, right? So I've recognized that I need tangible things to complete. So in between sessions, maybe rather than vegging out, I would wash dishes. Like I need to see something tangible being done sometimes as well. But that brings me to my next point is your self-care will look different in the middle of your day versus at the end of your day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So giving yourself flexibility there as well and recognizing that it changes, right? The things that relax me now are definitely not the things that relaxed me beforehand. Like I said, I'm a relational person, so I feel really good usually after I hang out with someone, or meet up with a girlfriend for dinner or something like that. That's like a way I can blow off steam. But then there's moments where I'm like, I just need to not talk to anybody for like 3 hours, right? Like, let's just say you had a long day of clients. My brain
Mm-hmm.
is mush, right? Like, I know if a girlfriend's calling me about an issue, I need to be like, I can't, and communicating when I can't. And that is not only an act of self care, but an act of rebellion because we're always so used to having to be on. So when you tell someone pause or stop or here's my boundary, you are rebelling. You are rebelling against what society has told you you need to do. And it's okay, right? If we give all the time, we don't fill our cups. And we
Yeah.
need to give ourselves that time to do so.
Yeah, just to expand on that, I think you kind of touched upon it, but to all the folks out there listening, when it comes to self-care, sometimes it's very important to actually focus on the little things instead of just always focusing on the big things, because those little things do build up and actually do make you feel better. Like you touched upon, for example, you said one of your self-care things is get sitting on your phone, just watching TV, having TV in the background. But you also touched upon like, having something small, tangible to do, like washing dishes. That's the little things that, kind of make you feel like you're doing something and you're progressing and it just makes you feel good. So just emphasizing that it's kind of important to focus on the little things instead of, just always focusing on the big moment because the small moments do lead up to the big moments. So it's very important to touch upon your self-care and kind of self-explore what works for you.
It's funny that you say that because I was just having a conversation the other day and I was talking to one of my clients' parents and I'm like, you're running toward this really, really big goal and it's really far away. And you're running so quickly toward it that you're missing all these little moments, right? You're missing all the small wins. And so that was really meaningful to me that you said that because I think that's a really good reminder. Again, we want this big thing done. We want it completed. But how many other things am I missing out while I'm so focused on that?
Yeah, it's a puzzle piece. You got to put the pieces together so you can get the complete puzzle. So as we come to a conclusion of our city interview podcast, we have two last questions.
Okay.
We usually ask this to everybody else. So on a scale of 1 to 10, actually just to touch upon, you were featured on the platform before, and last time I think you were at an 8. So now this time on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to staying true to yourself?
Oh, definitely a 10 now. Definitely a 10.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear because, that shows there's been, some more self-exploration and kind of more understanding and acceptance of who you are. That's plus 2 points. So, kudos to you for that. And it's really good to hear. And last time also you had a quote for yourself. But now this time it's a new day. It's a new beginning. It's kind of a new chance for you to develop your own quote. So if you were to be quoted and you had a quote and, it said quotation - Kathleen, what would that quote be?
I don't know if I can take credit for this, but this is the one I always say. You know what? This is what I would say. I would say I am the sun. And that is something my dad actually always tells me. Just reminding, for me, it's a reminder of what I deserve and how I want to show up in spaces and how I want people to treat me in spaces. But can I say a second one, though, too? Because this is on my mind.
Yeah.
The second one is the sky is still the sky. And so that's talking about like when bad things happen or when you're in a kind of sticky, yucky situation, you're still you, right? And you should be treated as such and you should maneuver as such. Where we make mistakes, but we are still us. So that's a really important one for me personally.
Okay. Dash Kathleen. Okay. Okay. Um, so, you touched upon, the importance of your family, the importance of, relationships, the importance of, checking yourself and self-exploration. And it's been a pleasure hearing these things from you, and, taking away your advice and wisdom. And for all you folks out there listening, I hope you guys can take away something from this and resonate with the experience Kathleen has had and kind of see, like, no matter what's going on, there's always that chance and opportunity to always kind of do better. And it always starts with you. So don't forget that you are there to define yourself. You're here to define yourself. And it's important to figure yourself out first before you can kind of not start delving into other things. So, Kathleen, it's been a pleasure having you on the
Thank
podcast.
you. Thank you so much, y'all.
And, as we always say here on the podcast, always pursue your dream and seize the day. Peace out.